This interview with Mr. Thomas J. Trapp is being recorded on Monday, November the 16th, 1998 at 10 a.m. in his New Westminster home. The interviewer is Dick Ramsay. Mr. Trapp will be discussing the life and times of his grandfather, Mr. Thomas John Trapp, who was a successful and highly respected hardware merchant in New Westminster during the early part of this century. He also developed additional business interests. In many cases, the name Trapp is synonymous with the growth and development of the city and the improvement of the social as well as the economic well-being of its citizens. This is largely due to the fact that Mr. Trapp was a publicly spirited person who played leadership roles in a number of community organizations. Tom and his wife Freda have researched letters, articles, and other sources of information about Mr. Trapp and the family as a whole. I appreciate the opportunity to interview you. Later, I hope to interview you, Tom, about your own exciting life and times. Your grandfather, Tom, was an Englishman. Now, could you tell me something about him before he came to Canada?
Yeah, Dick, I don't know if I can tell you too much because I wasn't around at that time. Anyhow, I thought I could recite a couple of pieces of information that I have here that might give you an introduction as to the kind of a person he was. When he came here, I think he was about 30 years of age, and he had a background, quite a fairly good background with his church and with Christian groups. And I thought that maybe he may have decided to come out to Canada looking for probably opportunities in the business world because of his background up to that time as a clerk and as a salesman, and then this business of the church comes into it quite a bit. And I thought I could recite this business of a piece of from a Bible that was given to him some years ago in 1870, from the Croydon discussion class of the YMCA, who presented him a twofold concordance as a prize for an essay on the character of Paul. That was Tuesday, June the 4th, 1870. Then there was a presentation to T.J. Trapp on his removal from the neighborhood by members of his class at the Lewisham High Road Sunday School in token of the respect, esteem, and affection in which he is held by them for the loving and earnest efforts he has made for their welfare and everlasting happiness, which was in May the 12th, 1872. So that was just a few months before he left Waltham Abbey on his way to Canada. So that was his beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he was approximately 30 years of age when he left Waltham Abbey, his hometown. Just exactly, or not necessarily exactly, but could you give me some idea of when he was born, the year in which he was born?
Well, he was born in 1843. I've checked that because it has been reported he was born in 1870 or 42, but he passed away in that I do know in his 90th year in 1933. So he wasn't quite not, he wasn't born in 43 or 42. It must have been 43.
Did he have any brothers or sisters?
As far as I know, we only know about Sam. But he had sisters because on departing, he wrote in his diary that he said goodbye to dear mother and dear Polly, his sister. And so I thought it was very elegant the way he spoke of his sisters and his mother.
Did he ever make a return trip to Waltham Abbey to visit them?
I believe he did years later.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. That he did. I heard that he went looking for. He had a bad hip, I understand. I don't know. So he was going over there to find if somebody could help cure it. But I don't know too much detail on that.
No,
I've been back to England, I know, since maybe once anyway.
Can I interrupt?
Freda, yes, go right ahead.
Well, he went back before the end of 1800. Now I've got my dates wrong, but I think it was in 96. And brought his mother over, and didn't he bring his sister and her husband? What were their names? Tom?
His sister?
Yeah, he brought his sister.
Oh, yeah.
We had cousins in New Westminster connected with the Browns.
I see. So he did return. On one occasion when he returned, he brought back his.
Yeah.
That was quite a common practice, happened in our family.
The father died and the mother was a widow, so he brought her home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
her name is mentioned on the gravestone at Fraser View Cemetery.
I see.
The mother's name.
Yeah. So she died here. She lived here. Then she died here. Yes. Would you have any idea if his parents were just as adventurous as their son turned out to be? I don't mean being a world traveler like your grandfather, but or did they more or less stay in the same place, or did they move around a bit?
Well, we had no. I think they had moved. I think there was some reference of Croydon, which was not far away.
Oh,
it was in the same general area in London.
Yeah.
I always like to look at that. I look at coordinates, So they're on the prime meridian in London. So if you look up the Waltham Abbey or Lewisham, or they're all, or Croydon, they're all quite close to the prime meridian.
Yes. Well, would there be anything else you'd like to say about his life in Great Britain before coming to Canada?
No, just that he left with his brother.
Oh,
Sam.
I see. His brother Sam traveled with him.
Yes.
Yes.
To Canada.
To Canada, I see.
And so they went to the ship, and they got the ship, and I think during the ship, he mentions at the ship that somebody was trying to get a line on the ship. It was a ship, I thought it was quite interesting how observant he was. That he remarked that it was a 2,500 ton vessel run by the Dominion shipping company.
Mm-hmm.
They were at the dock, and the name was called, the boat was called the Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that he mentioned about throwing this line off, and the fellow went into the water, but he was retrieved.
Oh, that's good.
According to his diary.
Yeah.
He got off all right, and I understand that he bought a bottle of brandy.
Oh, yes.
In case he needed it.
Oh, yes, in case, medicinal purposes.
On the trip.
Yes.
How many days was it? I forget that.
Yeah,
It was quite a long trip.
I would imagine so.
There quite a few people got sick.
Oh, I would imagine so.
But it was quite a small vessel.
Yeah,
I was trying to relate that to.
Yeah.
It's probably about the size of some of the princess.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. I have to check that out.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting little story.
Yeah.
Well, he came to Canada, and I understand that he settled in Ontario. Is that correct?
Well, he didn't settle there, I don't.
No, he went to work there, though.
Yeah. Well, they seem to they cleared custom, I guess, at an immigration. Was that Montreal? And then they went on to Toronto, didn't stay there, and then he went on to St. Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
And they were constructing the, what was the name of the railroad?
Would that be the Canada Southern?
Canada Southern Railroad.
Yeah.
And he
Eventually
had a
became
job
part of
doing
Sienna.
he said that it was very hard work because they were laying about a mile to a mile and a half a day.
Yes.
And
Jeez.
so he was at that for a while.
Yeah.
And
that meant he was that hard labor, pick and shovel, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it wasn't the kind of work that he was
No.
used to.
No.
But anyways, he was one that if you had to get work, well, then you got work regardless of how much it paid.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these people that came over had the philosophy, I understand, that no job was too small or no job was too big.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
They always told me that anyway.
Yeah.
So
Never mind. That's advice you received.
That's the word.
And this was, what year would this be? Like 18, what?
This was still 72.
72.
Well, went through the winter.
And then he went through the winter there.
It'll be 43, spring of 40.
So in the spring of 73, he started out, there's some mention in his diary about going to Detroit. And he was in London for a while, went to through Detroit, and to Chicago. Then he got a ticket from Chicago to British Columbia. So, well, he went to San Francisco first.
San Francisco.
I think, what was it $58 or something for that? On this train, I figured that was about the time that the railroads came through to San Francisco.
Yes.
1872, Southern Pacific, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, he mentions during the travel across about Salt Lake City and Brigham Young, but they didn't have time to visit him, but it shows that he had an interest.
Yes,
he would
yes,
like to.
yes. Yeah, well, that was Brigham Young's tough luck, I'd say.
Yeah. Anyways, these trains had to get watered all the time because they didn't have condensers or things on them, I guess. So they stopped at this watering hole, which he mentions, and unfortunately he left his cap behind, and so he came right along, and he asked the conductor if he could stop the train so he could run back at the watering hole where he was trying to freshen it up and get his cap. So they stopped the train, and he ran back for all his might, and he ran 2 miles right there and back.
No.
So it was quite remarkable. And he was mentioning about being up on top somehow or other. I don't know whether these trains, and they were having quite a bit of fun with the girls and so forth on the train.
Yeah.
And so they're going to San Francisco. So he mentions Council Bluffs and Omaha on the way through, and so then going down into San Francisco, Sacramento and San Francisco. So that was, you could kind of follow, if you pull a map out, you can get to see where he went. And then he bought a steerage passage, so he was being quite frugal, from San Francisco to Victoria.
Oh, I see.
So what made him go to Victoria? I guess he liked the British Columbia aspect of it. So he came to Victoria that way for $15 steerage.
$15, see?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So it was pretty rough going.
Yeah, pretty nice.
On the steerage, but he said some of the better class passengers weren't all that happy with the passage either. I think it was 5 days they took.
5 days from San Francisco to Victoria.
But in my experience, that's not the quietest body of water at that time of year. So I guess.
No. Yeah. Well, being a sailor, you'd know.
Well, I don't know.
So he didn't settle in Victoria, but he stayed around looking for work. Did he in Victoria?
Well, he had some work at different, like where he mentions a gunsmith, and he mentions the name of a firm that he worked with. I don't know whether it's during a bookkeeping job or what it was there, but he had some work there for a month or so. Yeah. So, anyways, he also had experience on the island with chopping wood. So I guess, to run out of a job and your work, then you go chopping cordwood for $1.50 for dry wood, and $1 a cord for green.
Yeah. But before didn't he, prior to that, come over to the mainland and then go to Vancouver?
Yeah, he did.
Westminster, then Vancouver. Yeah, but Vancouver didn't exist then, of course, but Hastings Mill, I imagine, would be there.
But it was interesting that in his Victoria experience, sort of immediately, he had connections with the Presbyterian churches, so he seemed to be attracted to those that kind of people.
Yeah. There's sort of a stabilizing influence for him. Keep his feet on the ground.
That was the way he was.
So you were saying he worked in Vancouver?
Then he he got I think it was $15 to go to New Westminster.
Oh, I see.
And then they thought things were really dead there. So he thought, well, I don't know whether it was Sam or another friend. They went over to take a job at loading the ships with logs or lumber in Vancouver. And they lugged all their stuff, about 60 pounds of stuff, along with them. And he said after about, that's 15 miles, and a lot of it was hard slugging over.
Through bush.
Rock. Yeah, bush, yeah.
In other words, you walk.
Yeah, right.
Yes, well, that was the only way to get there, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, that in itself is a feat. So he's loading these spars, and he didn't. How long did he work there? Do you know? How many days?
Well, it seemed like not very long.
And he lived there while he.
Well, I guess they found accommodation.
Yeah, he wouldn't want back to Westminster.
I think he mentions the ship Niagara.
Oh.
Now, I know Niagara with the Royal Mail, used to sail down to Honolulu.
Oh, yes.
He referred to the Sandwich Islands.
Oh, I see.
We never been to Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether that's the same ship, but it's the same name. Anyway. But he talked to the captain.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think that's how he found some accommodation while he was in Vancouver, but he wasn't there long.
No.
It wasn't very suitable, and some of the living conditions were pretty abhorrent to him.
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah. So then, did he return to Victoria? You mentioned cutting cordwood. That was
he returned to Victoria.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But he had some good friends there, but things weren't all that brisk in Victoria either.
No.
But when he did work, I think he got well paid.
Yes.
With the short time that he was working.
Yeah. Well, relatively speaking, I guess, it'd be well paid.
Right.
Well, it's very interesting. You know, you're mentioning these tasks he had, manual labor and so on, and hard, long hours, and then the traveling across the country, immense distance. It must have been quite a cultural shock to him,
You know, the thing that I'm just wondering about now was he was pretty good with a rifle.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of their meals were game that he shot.
Oh, I see.
And he even talks about shooting a beaver.
Is that it?
Yeah, and skinning it.
It's almost sacrilege.
I don't know what, but that was something I thought, well, he must have been a pretty good shot with rabbits and grouse.
Yeah. So, as I understand it now, that after Victoria, he decided to make his fortune up at Cassiar. Is that correct?
Yeah, I gather, yeah. He went up to the Stikine in 1874.
Oh, yes.
So that's the next year.
Yeah.
And I guess he surveyed the situation there, and he thought, well, it really wasn't any opportunities there.
No.
So that he came back from there.
Would you have any idea how he got there up the Cassiar?
Well, they went by steamer up there. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
But anyway, of course, when they hit the Stikine, they had to be paddle wheelers, whether they were paddle wheelers that took them up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he didn't find anything that suited him. But Freda and I have been up the Stikine just to see what it was like.
Oh, I see.
In jet boats.
Mm-hmm.
So you went about 30 miles an hour in these jet boats. And it's about, when was that? 93?
93.
Is that right?
1993 when we went to Alaska. But that's the closest I ever got to retracing his footsteps up there.
Well, it's an opportunity, and I wasn't really signed up to go, but I thought, oh, I just gotta go.
Sure.
I can't miss this.
No,
So,
of course not.
so I asked them if they could take me too, and they said yes, they could. So we spent the whole day on the jet boat.
We went up to the Canadian border.
Oh, yes.
Through Alaska.
We had 3 boats, and the people were divided, and we stopped somewhere, and we had a bag lunch we brought.
I understand that he also went into sheep ranching. Is that correct?
Well, that's later on, and just
Not at Cassiar, but at
he came back from
Nicola.
Victoria.
I see.
And I'm trying to find the diary for the next year, but I haven't been able to find it.
No.
But anyways, from other sources, he apparently went to the Nicola to try raising cattle. And while he was there, he was interviewed by one of the heads of the survey parties for the CPR, who engaged him to get supplies up to the Athabasca depot. And the Athabasca depot is the east of Tate John Cache.
Oh, at Yellowhead Pass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pass, yeah.
Yeah.
So I found that rather an interesting time. I think maybe he got engaged. He took that job on while he was ranching, shall we say.
I see.
He was ranching not far from the Douglas Ranch.
Oh, I see.
At that time.
Is that right?
And but I have in his diaries the mention of the supplies that he like 2,000 pounds of flour, for instance. He had to get up there, and then they moved cattle up there. And
that's a long distance, though, from Nicola to Yellowhead. That's he was just a pack train.
Was through Kamloops, and they had horses.
Yeah, but even so, with horses.
Oh, yeah.
Feeding them and keeping them.
So,
particularly when he was never had any horse experience, did he? Before that?
Oh,
they always had horses.
Yeah, I think so.
I see.
Well, we have a picture of his father on a horse. So
I see. Yeah. I see.
We got pictures of the grandma.
How else did you get around?
No, that's true.
In the front yard
that's true.
on their horses.
Yeah. But that's a long trek, though, because, that just shows you how much stamina he had. Gosh, plenty of people at that time be so homesick they'd be trying to get home as fast as they could.
Oh, he was so busy.
Yes.
During this, but it was interesting. I got kind of interested in coordinates, and he was up in on his way to Tate John, or to the Yellowhead, where the cache was. Where a cache was, was supposed to be, where it was, actually. And while he was on his way, just a minute to read my note here. 1879, he was. I just noticed here, Don was the Indian uprising. So he was in Kamloops area at that time, so it would be before that.
Yes.
When he was
Yes.
up to the
Yes.
Athabasca depot. But he got engaged to bring these supplies up there, and I gather that's what he did. And he had an assistant.
Yes.
That went with him to the Athabasca depot.
Yes.
It sounded like they wintered their horses and so forth at this depot. So maybe down near the Bow River, near Banff.
Well, actually, from another source, I read that the Canadian Pacific Railroad was originally going to go through Yellowhead, but they changed their minds, never used it. This is later, and used the Banff Kicking Horse Pass and Glacier National Park. So I guess he was working for the Canadian Pacific at that time, because they were under the impression at that time that they were going to go through.
Yeah.
But you said he went to T. John. I pronounce it T. John. Maybe you pronounce it Tate John, did you? Maybe I'm
whatever.
Well, anyway, whatever it is. Tate. So while he was there, if I understand what you're saying, he was asked to go to Tate John. While he was at
well, he met, I think, the CP survey, CPR.
Yes, that's right. They were surveying the,
and that's how he got engaged to
get
on this job.
Yeah. But what, didn't you mention to me, if I remember correctly now, come to think of it, that he went from Yellowhead, the Athabasca Cache, to Tate John, to get some ammunition for.
Well,
when did that happen?
Well, that was later on, and that's a very severe winter. I think it was the 2nd of January.
I see. But it was in that time frame.
The Indian village had that he was approached, I guess, by the.
Tom was just describing his grandfather's trek, the native the Indians to gather ammunition to help them hunt game, and that trek from the Athabasca Cache at the Yellowhead to Tate John, about 100 miles. That was quite a feat.
Yeah, it's amazing that he mentions that in his diaries that the Indians approached him and two Indians went with him, I gather, and to go to the Tate John, but then this is in January the 2nd, so they were in their snowshoes, so they're walking the distance, and the snow kind of softened up for them at one point, and then they just couldn't make any headway. They had 2 dogs with them too, I gather. But anyways, he said that the Indians prayed for him, but not that he was going to believe that it would freeze over during the night. Which,
so they wouldn't sink.
So the snowshoes wouldn't go through the crust, so that they could walk, do their mileage. Because they had about 20 miles to go, I believe, at that point.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing that saved them. Otherwise, they would be, if they hadn't been able to walk, it'd be just history with the 2 Indians.
Jeez. No, not too many people have that kind of an experience. And he wasn't a particularly young man then, or was he? How old would he be then? In his 40s or his late 30s? Or mid 30s?
Well, yeah, mid-30s, I suppose.
Because in 79.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you think of that, you say, well, how many miles would they have to walk a day in order to get there in a reasonable time without starving to death? You know, that must have been at least 4 miles a day, maybe, or 3 miles a day, maybe more.
More.
If they walk 5 miles and 20 miles, but
yeah, but
20 days.
with your snowshoes, I don't know how many.
No.
They did a lot of mileage, I know.
Yeah.
They just, well, there were 20 miles when the soft snow came, soft snow conditions that came upon them. But they apparently made it all right. So.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
But he volunteered for this thing. He just wanted.
Yeah.
But I guess he was working for the CPR surveys at that time.
Yeah.
And it's sort of remarkable to remember that in spite of all those surveys that he had quite a hand in supplying all the crews, the survey crews, that the CPR didn't go that route at all. But the CNR finally went that route, and that was a much more gradual grades than the CPR finally chose down at the Rogers Pass. And down from that area.
Yeah, I see. Actually, he almost sacrificed his life for a cause that couldn't take place. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Very interesting.
So, from there, did he go back to...
So he went back to Kamloops, I guess, because I think he still had some stock.
Oh, yeah.
Kamloops.
And then from there, he...
So I guess from there, from the surveys, I guess he had done his job there, and he went back to the Nicola, and that kind of brings us also to a very interesting time in his life. In 1879, when they had the Indian outbreaks, the one which you might have read about, with, where the McLean brothers shot this usher who was a policeman out of Kamloops. I think there's a memorial to him somewhere in Kamloops.
Oh, I see.
And so these Indians came down, they went down the Nicola Valley, and they killed one of the fellows that they didn't like. His name was Kelly. But when they came to Trapp's place, one of their party, these Indians, said that Trapp was a good guy, that he paid this Indian 50 cents to find his horse, but even although he couldn't find it. And I thought, well, that was a very interesting comment, because maybe if he hadn't have paid 50 cents, I wouldn't be here. So,
well, that's the one way of putting it.
One very interesting sideways.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, anyways, he found that things weren't. It was a very severe winter, this 1879, apparently, and so he lost a lot of his stock. So he decided, well, he'd go back to New Westminster, and I think that's recorded in the history of the Douglas Lake Ranch, which they mentioned that Trapp found the winter too severe, so he had to move out of the ranching, and he went back down to the coast. So I guess he kept in touch with his brother because he and his brother bought out the interests of the Dean brothers, apparently, in New Westminster. And
what sort of a business was that? Was that a hardware
I think it was
dry goods or something like that?
I think it was dry goods.
Was it? Oh.
But anyway, anyways, the two brothers got into that, and then finally T.J. Trapp bought out them all, and they formed the T.J. Trapp.
Oh, I see.
Company.
And company was his brother.
Yeah, but his brother, he wasn't with him, I think, after a while.
Oh.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, I
he
see.
moved over to the island or something.
Well, that's very interesting, and that's how he got into the hardware business. I imagine he had enough
He
money.
got into everything, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
They even sold insurance and farm machinery.
Yes. Yeah. At the beginning or eventually? At the beginning. Oh, I see. So he was anybody that walk 100 miles across dollars a ton. Well, that just gives you some idea of how determined he was to make a good living. And particularly, I guess, he realized that life was very precious after walking 100 miles in the snow, That's fantastic.
Undying energy.
And almost being shot, too.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, of course, following that, they came down to New Westminster, he got to be the chief crown witness against these McLean brothers.
Oh, I see.
That had done had murdered this fellow Kelly.
Yeah.
And the jail that was here in New Westminster was the place where they hung the McLean brothers because they filed against them.
Is that right?
And
see, this is most interesting, Tom.
T.J. Trapp was the chief crown witness.
Oh, I see.
For the crown. And but the jail, it turned out to be, was taken over by the school.
Oh, yeah.
The school was named for him.
Yes.
Because he got to be the chairman of the school board.
Oh, is that right?
For years.
Years later.
For years later, right?
Yeah, but I guess they realized that location was of particular significance to him too, because he was there.
So you're talking about, it's just 79, 80, I suppose. So, anyways.
You mentioned previously that he brought his mother out. Did she come out about that time, or would it be later?
Oh, that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh.
After he was married.
Oh, after he was married. Oh, yes.
Well,
I see. Yes.
He met this Nellie Dockrell.
Oh, yes.
And her father had settled near Port Moody, thinking that the CPR terminal was going to be in Port Moody, and he had a section of land there.
Oh, did he?
And but it didn't work out that way. Of course, they went right on to Vancouver.
Yeah.
But he married, but when the railway came through in '86, and he took the first train out with his bride, Nellie Dockrell, who lived nearby. The first CPR train east in 1886.
Yeah.
So he was I guess it was getting pretty well established by then, I guess.
That was the Port Moody was the terminal in those days, of course.
Yeah.
Ah, gosh. So
Vancouver was a branch line, and I guess New Westminster got to be a branch line too.
Yes, that's interesting. It fascinates me, you know, and I think a lot of people, this is an example of saying, I think just before the interview, that a lot of people don't know the significance of our early history, you know, and particularly a local person who was right in the middle of it, you know, experienced every conceivable kind of hardship you can imagine. So it didn't, his success in later life didn't come easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, if you, in looking at the biographical material on persons in B.C., you think, well, there are a lot of other successful people around too, but he seemed to get to be the greatest.
Yes.
And all that competition around people in business and the hardware business and other business.
Yeah. So he was married. Do you have any idea of the year he was married?
1886.
1886.
Yeah.
And then I guess the business prospered from then on.
He went east anyway on that. With his bride.
Oh, yes. Yes. You were
saying
that.
Right. Yeah. Now, where'd he go? When did he come back?
I don't know.
Well, that was his honeymoon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know.
Right.
But then, as I understand it, a few years after that, tragedy befell him and his family, by virtue of the fact that 3 of his sons were lost in the First World War.
Yeah. There was a lot of involvement by him in the community at that time with the Royal Agricultural and Industrial Society and the Westminster Trust Company.
Yes.
And the New Westminster and Southern Railroad.
Yes.
And I think there's also a connection with BC Power, or was it Vancouver Power?
Oh, I see.
Corporation. And also the telephone company around Kelowna. So he had some pretty wide interest.
He had those connections actually before the First World War then.
Oh, yes.
I see. I didn't realize that. Of course, yes, it would be. So he was quite a dynamic person, though.
Well, you know, there's a building there now on Columbia Street called the Trapp lot.
Yes, I know that.
Which he built in 1912.
12, yes.
So a lot of this happened before that.
Yes. That's interesting.
Because he was burned out in the fire, of course.
I was going to ask you about that just in 1898.
Yeah, well, there's a picture of him with some other dignitaries at New Westminster with the burned out.
Oh, is that right? But he survived.
Buildings in the background.
Did he lose a lot? Merchandise?
Oh, he lost the whole thing, I guess. Yeah. But like everybody else who just started up, I don't know how. So,
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say something?
Rent somebody's building and then order new stock.
Yes, yeah.
Because they had a lot of sales up the valley and different places.
Yes, oh, I see. In order to get established again.
Well, I'm saying that they must have just carried on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carried on.
He was an auctioneer of some note, too.
Oh, he started, I remember you mentioned it to me previously, before the interview, he started his auctioneering business at that time as well, did he?
I don't know when
I
it started.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, amazing.
But that was another source of income.
Oh, of course.
And then my father took over that after a while, too.
Oh, yes. You mentioned the railroad, the Southern New Westminster Railroad?
New Westminster and
Southern Railroad.
Which was purchased by Great Northern.
Oh, I see. And your father was instrumental in getting that line started?
Your grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather?
Yes.
And where did that
I forget, there's several others.
7 or 8 people got together and they all...
Yeah. And it ran from where to New Westminster?
From Blaine to New Westminster.
I see. That's the northern lap of the present Great Northern Railroad. Oh, not the present Great, but the Northern Railroad, the Great Northern Railroad.
Yeah. And according to him, it was the only one that was built without government subsidy.
Yes. Yeah.
They all pitched in and built, and then the Great Northern took it over.
Yeah, I see.
Now his daughters went to college.
Yeah.
By the Great Northern.
Yeah.
St. Paul.
Yeah. That's quite. I just I'm amazed, at the versatility of the man and so on.
Yeah, I am too. His observations.
Yeah.
Things,
oh yeah. Astute in making decisions and recognizing the proper decisions, I guess. So I guess I got ahead of the score then when I mentioned his sons, but that in itself was a tremendous tragedy for the whole family, wasn't it?
Right,
Did he have a hard job getting over that, do you know?
Well, he just kept going. I just think of what his wife was going through at this time, too. But she had good support from the family, especially with one daughter, Dr. Ethan, who wanted to be a doctor later on.
Yes.
Looked after her mother.
Yes.
And Nita was the dietitian for the, what is it called?
Is this another daughter was a dietitian? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Nita Trapp, Collishaw. And she worked in Vancouver at the during the war in the what do they call that home? Shaughnessy.
Shaughnessy Hospital.
Yes, and then they sent her up to Belfort for a year or so.
Near Nelson.
And,
which daughter was this? Did you say?
This is the middle one.
Nita, did you say?
Yeah.
Anita.
And there's
oh, Juanita. Oh, yes, I see.
and,
Juanita. Oh, yeah.
So she was close by at
Yes.
that time, and then Dr. Eflin had graduated
Yeah.
in 1913.
Uh-huh.
So she was helping her father doing some typing down at
I
the
see.
shop in the morning, and there with her mother when all these things happened.
That's horrible.
Terrible.
That's horrible.
And then Dodie, the youngest one, was taking her medicine courses.
This is
going to
was that Dorothy?
Dorothy.
She's usually known as Dorothy.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Dorothy. And so she'd be going off in the fall and coming back in the
Did
spring.
she study medicine as well?
Yeah. She graduated with honors.
Yeah.
in
So there are two doctors in the family then?
Yeah, but she practiced for 1 year
Uh-huh.
in New Westminster with the senior doctor Wilson.
Oh.
before she got married. She married a doctor in St. Paul and moved down there.
Oh, I see.
She never had the right to practice in the States.
No.
But I guess that she was too busy raising a family. But she was on the diets and everything. Just interesting.
Well, we have
We've had education from both of them.
Yeah, we have a record of that in his letters to his daughters.
Is that right?
And one thing that always said, well, we have to play the game. You know, to always play the game.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that went through, even with the boys when they went overseas. Make sure you play the game.
Oh, he could hardly wait till Thomas' dad came back.
Yes.
So he could go out and do the auctions.
Yes.
He kept saying, "I've got another auction coming up."
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
He was.
He just kept everything.
Yeah. Well, you think of his age at that time too.
Yes.
Which
he's over 70.
Kind of amazing,
Because he was about 70 when he opened the building, I guess, according to what they're saying.
1912. Well, that citation.
Yes.
We read there.
Yes.
What was it? The RA 1913.
I read a bit about Ethelyn. I was wondering if maybe I could reserve talking about her later on, because I was very, very impressed with her curriculum vitae, as they call it, her background. And I'd like to talk in detail about it if I may, but in the meantime, I just wanted to go back to your grandfather, per se.
But the interesting thing about this
is
that he had the resources to support all this.
Oh, yes.
You know, the traveling and the tuition. For these girls.
Yeah. But it wasn't a gift. He had to work for every cent of it, you know.
It happened. As they got to be doctors, we know that.
Well, they're very, very fortunate, but the daughter's having this opportunity, and his assistants and so on. But again, the way I like to look upon it is that it's their determination is, and the taking advantage of the opportunity was a reflection of the kind of teaching they received from their father.
Oh yeah, and their mother.
And their mother. Yes.
Their upbringing.
Where did your grandfather and grandmother live in Westminster?
They lived at 407 Agnes Street.
Oh.
So just west of 4th Street.
Yes.
Well, that's gone now. The whole house was torn down some years ago.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It has an apartment house, but there's sort of a chain link fence across the front of it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's still there today? I'd like to drive past that and take a look at it.
How about like that?
Isn't that amazing?
407.
407
Agnes Street.
Ah, yes. Yeah. It's interesting, 407. The SF Mark lived at 207 Agnes.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So I guess Agnes is a fair place to live in those days. I guess you have a tremendous view of the river. I guess for one thing, close to commercial, panoramic view, and close to the business, the commercial Columbia Street.
Oh, he was 207, was he?
Yeah.
He just near St. Mary's Hospital, then.
Actually,
Agnes Street.
it would be close to where the college is located now, I believe. Further down,
No, you said 207.
Did I say 702, I guess.
Oh,
I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah.
702.
Oh,
excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
Near where
70.
Douglas
Of course,
College.
702. What am
Near
I?
8th
I'm getting
Street.
it. Excuse me in my old age. Talking about 1859 and that 1898 and those things. It seems that's
I know.
I'm it's beginning to show. Anyway, yeah, so I guess they'd have a view of the river as mentioned and close to business and transportation. So I guess it's
well, must have been quite an interesting time. The Great Fire, and everything got burned out.
Yeah.
You see a picture of him, these fellas standing around with their suits and their bowler hats.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And the dust from the fire and everything all around them. But what a spirit, boy, they built that town up real fast.
Yeah. Could you tell me a little more, if you've been able to come across it, about his other business interests besides the hardware? How did, for example, then let's start with it, but how did he actually get into the automobile business, Trapp Motors?
Well, the Trapp Motors itself was started by my father in 1929.
Oh, I see.
I showed you that receipt.
That's right. It was your father actually started, not your grandfather.
The actual start of that was with the McLaughlin carriages.
Oh, I see.
Which they sold with their farm machinery and what have you. And the McLaughlins got to get into the automobile business. And my uncle, Frank Trapp, who was a son of Sam Trapp, who lived with T.J. Trapp, said some years later, he said in 1910, they had a whole trainload. No, the year before, they had a whole trainload of McLaughlin carriages, and the next year they had one carload. That was how fast it changed from buggies to automobiles, to McLaughlin Buick. So they were into. We always figured that the Trapp connection was the oldest one, the oldest dealership in General Motors dealership, I should say, which was connected to the McLaughlins in Canada because of that connection.
See, every time you tell me something, it's a distinction. It's wonderful. Yeah. You mentioned to me so very briefly before the last time I was speaking with you on the tape, but that your grandfather's, his own automobile was one that was almost used in a bank robbery?
Yeah, well, that was the biggest bank heist, I guess, as they call it, for many, many years, up to almost recent times. The thousands of dollars that were stolen from the Bank of Montreal on Church Street, Church in Columbia. And apparently they had so much money with them when they broke into the vault that they dropped some of it. And you talked about the boardwalks. I think they found some of it in the boardwalks in front of T.J. Trapp's house at 407 Agnes Street. And they came to Trapp's house and in the garage they had a car. My grandfather had this McLaughlin Buick. And so they pushed the car out of the garage, and then they went down the lane and started to make their getaway. But they couldn't get the car going. And the reason for that was that the boys had removed the spark plugs to do something. They were quite mechanically inclined. But anyways, that was the biggest bank robbery for years that had been perpetrated. I don't know whether they